You won't believe what's growing in the darkest, most overlooked parts of my garden. Forget what you thought you knew about sun-loving plants. My latest harvest proves that abundance can be found even in the deepest shade. Join me as I pull back the curtain on my dark garden and reveal the secret to these incredible, unexpected crops that are absolutely dominating my space. For years I stared at the shadowy corners of my garden with frustration. These spots, tucked beneath my neighbor's towering oak and nestled against the north side of my house, seemed like gardening dead zones. Every traditional gardening guide screamed full sun for vegetables, leaving me convinced these areas were destined for decorative hostas and nothing more. But necessity became the mother of invention when I realized I was wasting nearly 40% of my growing space. What started as desperate experimentation has completely transformed my understanding of productive gardening. Those supposedly useless shaded areas now produce some of my most reliable and abundant harvests. The secret lies in understanding that shade doesn't mean failure. It means opportunity for a completely different category of incredible vegetables that actually prefer protection from intense sunlight. My journey into shade gardening began when I noticed wild plants thriving in my garden's darkest corners, while my sun-loving tomatoes struggled during particularly hot summers. This observation sparked a revelation that would revolutionize my entire approach to vegetable gardening and unlock the potential of every square foot of my property. Leafy greens, they're honestly the shade garden superstars. Lettuce varieties have become the undisputed champions of my dark garden, especially butterhead and loose-leaf types like salad bowl and black-seeded Simpson. These varieties not only tolerate shade but actually produce more tender, sweet leaves when protected from harsh afternoon sun. In my shadiest spots where maybe 3 hours of dappled morning light filter through, these lettuces grow larger and stay productive far longer than their sun-exposed counterparts, often producing continuous harvests for months rather than bolting quickly in heat. Spinach has proven equally remarkable in low-light conditions, with varieties like Space and Bloomsdale growing into massive dark green rosettes that honestly dwarf anything I've grown in full sun. The leaves stay tender and mild-flavored well into summer when sun-grown spinach becomes bitter and unusable. What's particularly exciting is how these shade-grown greens develop incredibly deep, rich flavors that seem more concentrated and complex than their sun-grown siblings. Kale deserves special mention as perhaps the most surprising shade success story. Varieties like Winterbore and Red Russian not only survive in shade but develop an almost silky texture and sweetness that makes them perfect for raw salads. The reduced light seems to minimize the tough, fibrous quality that can make sun-grown kale challenging for some palates. Radishes have completely shattered my preconceptions about root vegetables needing full sun. Cherry bell and French breakfast varieties grown in my partial shade areas develop slowly but surely into perfectly formed, incredibly crisp roots with a mild, pleasant bite rather than the harsh, peppery heat that often develops in full sun. The extended growing time in shade actually seems to improve their texture and flavor complexity. Carrots, especially those shorter varieties like Paris Market and Thumbelina, have, really adapted well to my amended shade soils. While they do grow more slowly than carrots grown in full sun, they end up developing this, intense sweetness and almost a creamy texture. The real breakthrough for me came when I realized these shade carrots actually need a deeper, more organic, rich soil to make up for the reduced photosynthesis, leading to, honestly, some of the most flavorful carrots I've ever grown. Turnips and their greens have, become a double harvest wonder in those shaded areas. Purple top varieties give you both excellent roots and, at the same time, plenty of tender greens that you can just keep harvesting while the roots are still developing. The reduced light seems to keep both the roots and the greens from getting overly strong flavored or tough, which is, a really nice bonus. Wild strawberries have, naturalized in my deepest shade areas, creating this living ground cover that puts out tiny, intensely flavored berries all throughout the growing season. The yield is, sure, more modest compared to traditional strawberry beds, but the flavor intensity is just extraordinary, and they really require absolutely zero maintenance once they're established. Mint varieties have, honestly, created their own little ecosystem in those shaded, moist spots near the downspouts, growing into lush, aromatic carpets that give me fresh herbs all season long. Chocolate mint and apple mint particularly thrive in these conditions, developing fuller, more complex flavors than when grown in full sun. Several medicinal and culinary herbs including lemon balm, chives, and parsley have found their perfect home in partial shade. These herbs grow larger, stay productive longer, and maintain better flavor profiles when protected from intense afternoon sun. The foundation of successful shade gardening lies in creating superior soil that can compensate for reduced photosynthetic activity. My shade beds receive nearly double the organic matter compared to sunny areas, with a rich mixture of aged compost, leaf mold, and well-rotted manure worked into the top 8 inches of soil. This organic-rich foundation holds moisture more effectively while providing steady nutrient release that shade plants can access throughout their extended growing periods. Drainage becomes critically important in shade gardening, as slower evaporation rates can lead to waterlogged conditions. I've learned to create slightly raised beds or incorporate coarse compost and perlite to ensure excess moisture can escape while maintaining the consistent moisture levels that shade vegetables prefer. Strategic use of reflective surfaces has dramatically improved my shade garden's productivity. White-painted walls, mirrors positioned to catch and redirect morning sunlight, and even, strategically placed aluminum foil have increased available light in key growing areas. The goal isn't to create full sun conditions, but to maximize the quality and duration of whatever natural light is available. Selective pruning of overhanging branches has opened up pockets of additional light without destroying the overall shaded character of these growing areas. By removing just a few strategic branches, I've been able to increase light levels from deep shade to partial shade, dramatically expanding the range of vegetables that will thrive in these spaces. Shade gardening requires a complete rethinking of watering schedules and techniques. These areas typically need water less frequently, but require deeper, more thorough soaking when irrigation is needed. I've learned to water shade beds about half as often as sunny areas, but for longer periods, ensuring moisture penetrates deeply into the organic rich soil. Mulching becomes even more critical in shade gardens, helping regulate soil temperature and moisture while suppressing weeds that might compete with slower-growing shade vegetables. A thick layer of straw or shredded leaves provides the perfect growing environment for shade-loving crops. Shade gardening opens up incredible opportunities for container growing, as the reduced evaporation rates mean containers stay moist longer and require less frequent watering. Large containers filled with premium potting mix and positioned in partial shade can support impressive yields of leafy greens and herbs while remaining much easier to maintain than sun-exposed containers. Vertical growing solutions work particularly well in shade areas, as the reduced light intensity means plants don't suffer from the heat stress that can plague vertical gardens in full sun. Wall-mounted planters and tiered growing systems can multiply the productive capacity of small shaded spaces while creating attractive, functional garden features. Shade gardens offer remarkable sustainability advantages, requiring significantly less water while providing cooling microclimates that can make outdoor spaces more comfortable during hot weather. The slower growth rates and extended harvest periods of shade vegetables also mean more efficient use of garden space and reduced waste from crops that mature all at once. Pest management in shade gardens presents unique opportunities and challenges. While some common garden pests prefer sunny conditions and cause fewer problems in shade, others like slugs and snails can become more problematic in consistently moist, cool conditions. However, shade gardens support more beneficial insects and create habitat for natural pest predators. The transformation of my garden's so-called dead zones into productive, beautiful growing spaces has honestly been one of my most rewarding gardening achievements. These areas now provide some of my most reliable harvests while needing less water, less pest management, and less intensive maintenance than your typical sun gardens. Starting your own shade garden this fall is just perfect timing for cool season crops that will get established during moderate weather and in many climates give you harvests well into winter. So, begin by identifying areas that get about 2 to 4 hours of direct sunlight or, bright filtered light throughout the day. Focus on soil improvement first. Really work in generous amounts of organic matter to create that rich, moisture-retentive growing medium that shade vegetables just love. Honestly, the journey into shade gardening will challenge everything you thought you knew about vegetable production, while opening up entirely new possibilities for your growing space. Every shadowy corner becomes an opportunity, every problem area turns into a potential solution, and your overall garden productivity can increase dramatically when you embrace the power of shade-loving crops. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to Smart Garden for more unconventional growing strategies that will help you maximize every inch of your garden space. And hey, share this guide with fellow gardeners who might be overlooking the incredible potential hiding in their own shady spots. Your garden's next breakthrough might be growing in the shadows, just waiting for you to discover its potential.